Beneath one of the world's most iconic monuments lies something they don't want you to know about. In 1987, a Japanese research team made a discovery that would shake Egyptology to its core. Using advanced seismic equipment, they detected multiple hollow chambers beneath the Great Sphinx of Giza. Rooms, tunnels, voids that shouldn't exist according to conventional history. But when they tried to investigate further, the Egyptian government shut them down. Access denied, questions ignored, evidence buried. What are they hiding? Why can't anyone access these chambers? And what ancient secrets lie beneath the pores of the Sphinx? Welcome to Pharaoh's Legacy. Today, we're going underground. The Great Sphinx of Giza. 73 meters long, 20 meters high. Carved from a single piece of limestone, this colossal guardian has watched over the desert sands for thousands of years. Most people see a tourist attraction, a photo opportunity, an ancient relic slowly crumbling under the Egyptian sun. But what if I told you that the Sphinx you see above ground is only half the story? What if beneath those massive limestone pores lies a network of chambers, tunnels, and rooms that predate the pharaohs themselves? What if the greatest secrets of ancient Egypt aren't in the pyramids, but under the Sphinx? For decades, researchers, engineers, and archaeologists have detected anomalies beneath this monument. Strange voids, unexplained hollows, chambers that official Egyptology refuses to acknowledge. The Egyptian authorities have consistently denied excavation permits. They've blocked independent researchers. They've even threatened to revoke credentials of anyone who pushes too hard. Why? What could possibly be down there that's worth hiding from the world? Today, we're diving deep into one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. We'll examine the evidence, we'll explore the theories, and we'll uncover why access to these chambers remains forbidden to this very day. This is the story they don't want you to hear. Before we go underground, we need to understand what's above ground. Because the Sphinx itself is far stranger than most people realize. The conventional story goes like this. Around 2500 BCE, during Egypt's 4th dynasty, Pharaoh Khafre ordered the construction of this massive monument. It was carved from the bedrock limestone of the Giza Plateau, positioned to guard his pyramid complex. The face, they say, represents Khafre himself. The body of a lion symbolizes royal power. Together, the Sphinx embodies the pharaoh's strength and divine authority. That's the story you'll find in textbooks, museum placards, official tour guides. 4,500 years old. Case closed. Except, there's a problem. Actually, there are several problems. In the early 1990s, Boston University geologist Dr. Robert Schoch examined the Sphinx with fresh eyes. What he found contradicted everything Egyptology claimed. The erosion patterns on the Sphinx's body aren't from wind and sand, as you'd expect in a desert. They're from water. Heavy, sustained rainfall. The kind of precipitation that creates vertical channels and wave-like patterns in limestone. But here's the problem. The Giza Plateau hasn't experienced that level of rainfall in over 7,000 years. Not 4,500. 7,000. That would push the Sphinx's construction back to at least 5000 BCE, 2,500 years before the pharaohs, before hieroglyphics, before organized Egyptian civilization as we know it. The academic establishment rejected Schoch's findings immediately. Too radical, too disruptive, too impossible. But the erosion doesn't lie, and water damage isn't the only anomaly. The ancient Egyptians were meticulous record keepers. They documented everything: royal decrees, building projects, military campaigns, shopping lists. If Khafra built the Sphinx, one of the most impressive monuments in all of Egypt, you'd expect detailed inscriptions, building accounts, dedication texts, boastful hieroglyphs proclaiming his achievement. But there are none. Zero. Not a single contemporary inscription links Khafra to the Sphinx's construction. Compare that to virtually every other Egyptian monument, which are covered in texts identifying their builders. The absence of documentation isn't just unusual, it's suspicious. The oldest written reference to the Sphinx comes from the dream stele of Thutmose IV, placed between its paws around 1400 BCE. That's over 1,000 years after Khafra supposedly built it. And even that text doesn't mention Khafra as the builder. Instead, it describes the Sphinx as already ancient, a relic from a forgotten age that Thutmose restored after it spoke to him in a dream. An already ancient monument in 1400 BCE. How ancient are we talking? Look at the Sphinx's proportions. Really look at them. The head is too small, wildly out of proportion with the massive leonine body. Egyptian sculptors were masters of proportion, yet the Sphinx looks like someone transplanted a human head onto a lion's body without properly scaling it. Why would 4th dynasty craftsmen, who achieved mathematical perfection in the pyramids, make such a glaring error? Unless they didn't. What if the Sphinx originally had a lion's head, properly proportioned to its body? What if that original head was later recarved into a human face, making it smaller in the process? This would explain the proportion problem. It would explain the severe weathering on the body versus the relatively pristine head. And it would mean the Sphinx is far, far older than conventional dating suggests. But if Egyptians didn't build the original Sphinx, who did? This question leads us underground. Because beneath this enigmatic monument, there's physical evidence that might answer everything. The story of the hidden chambers begins in the 1980s, when technology finally caught up with archaeological curiosity. In 1987, Professor Sakuji Yoshimura led a team from Waseda University in Tokyo to conduct a comprehensive study of the Giza Plateau. They brought something Egyptian archaeologists had never used before: sophisticated ground-penetrating radar and seismic equipment. Ground-penetrating radar works by sending electromagnetic pulses into the ground. When these pulses encounter changes in density, air gaps, or hollow spaces, they bounce back differently. By analyzing these return signals, you can map what's below the surface without digging a single hole. The Japanese team spent weeks conducting surveys around and beneath the Sphinx. What they discovered shocked everyone. Their equipment detected multiple cavities beneath the monument. not natural geological formations. Hollow spaces, chambers voids that suggested human construction. Specifically, they found evidence of a large chamber directly beneath the Sphinx's pores, a tunnel extending north from the chamber toward the pyramid of Khafra, multiple smaller voids beneath and around the structure, what appeared to be a vertical shaft descending from the rump. At a press conference in 1987, Yoshimura announced their findings. The underground chambers, he stated, were undeniably there. The data was conclusive. The discovery made international news. Secret chambers found under Sphinx. Japanese team detects hidden voids at Giza. What lies beneath Egypt's guardian? And then, silence. The Egyptian government denied requests for further investigation. No excavation permits, no additional surveys. The team was thanked for their work and politely asked to leave. Yoshimura later stated in interviews that he believed there were definitely chambers beneath the Sphinx, but political considerations prevented further research. The Japanese weren't the first to suspect something was hidden beneath the Sphinx, and they wouldn't be the last. Long before modern technology, ancient sources hinted at hidden chambers. 4th century Roman historians wrote that the Sphinx concealed underground passages and chambers. These weren't legends or myths. They were stated as known facts, information passed down through generations. Medieval Arab historians described tunnels beneath the Sphinx. The 10th century writer Al-Makrizi wrote of underground rooms that contained talismans and ancient knowledge, deliberately hidden from unauthorized eyes. Even early European explorers in the 1800s reported strange echoes and hollow sounds when tapping on certain areas around the Sphinx's base, suggesting voids beneath the surface. These weren't isolated claims. Multiple sources across multiple centuries from different cultures, all describing the same thing: chambers beneath the Sphinx. But historical accounts aren't proof. They needed modern verification. That's where the next researcher comes in. In 1991, Dr. Joseph Shaw of the Shaw Foundation organized another expedition to investigate the Sphinx using even more advanced technology. This time, they used upgraded ground-penetrating radar, seismic sensors, and acoustic testing equipment. The goal? To definitively map what lay beneath. Over 2 years, Shaw's team conducted extensive surveys. They didn't just scan randomly. They systematically gridded the entire area, taking measurements from dozens of positions to create a 3-dimensional map of the subsurface. Their results confirmed what the Japanese had found, but with much greater detail. They detected a rectangular chamber approximately 9 meters by 12 meters beneath the front pores. A tunnel system connecting this chamber to other areas of the plateau. Multiple smaller rooms branching off from the main chamber. Evidence of architectural construction, not natural cave formation. The chamber beneath the pores was particularly intriguing. The radar suggested it had defined walls, a flat floor, and a ceiling. This was clearly a constructed space, not a geological accident. Dr. Shaw was confident enough to announce, "There is something underneath the Sphinx. We have the data. Now we need permission to investigate." Permission never came. Despite having government approval for the survey, excavation permits were repeatedly denied. The official reason given was preservation concerns. Shaw later revealed in interviews that he believed political factors, not scientific ones, were behind the denial. Someone didn't want these chambers investigated. But perhaps the most fascinating discovery wasn't made with radar. It was made with a camera. In 1993, German robotics engineer Rudolf Gantenbrink was hired to improve ventilation in the Great Pyramid. But his work would accidentally lead to one of the most intriguing Sphinx-related discoveries. Gantenbrink designed a miniature robot called Upuaut, meaning opener of the ways in ancient Egyptian, to explore the pyramid's narrow shafts. These shafts, just 20 centimeters square, had never been fully investigated. As Upuaut crawled through one shaft in the Queen's chamber, its camera revealed something extraordinary at the end. A stone door with 2 copper handles. This was unprecedented. A sealed door inside the Great Pyramid, untouched for over 4,000 years. What was behind it? But here's where it connects to the Sphinx. Gantenbrink's extensive surveying of the pyramid complex revealed anomalies in the bedrock beneath the entire plateau. His data suggested interconnected tunnel systems, including tunnels that appeared to lead toward the Sphinx. If true, this would mean the Sphinx wasn't an isolated monument. It was part of an integrated underground complex beneath Giza, a network of chambers and passages connecting the most important structures on the plateau. Gantenbrink was abruptly fired from the project. His credentials to work at Giza were revoked. He was told his services were no longer needed. Years later, he stated, "I believe I found something they didn't want found. Not yet. Maybe not ever." The door in the pyramid remains unopened. The tunnels beneath the plateau remain unexplored. And the chambers beneath the Sphinx remain inaccessible. Before we continue, we need to address the one official excavation that did occur beneath the Sphinx. Because what it found, and what it didn't find, raises even more questions. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Dr. Mark Lehner led an extensive project to map and restore the Sphinx. As part of this work, they excavated around the base and dug exploratory trenches. During this excavation, they discovered a shaft at the rump of the Sphinx. An old shaft, clearly ancient, descending into the bedrock. The shaft went down about 9 meters before ending in a small chamber. The chamber was empty. No artifacts, no inscriptions, just bare limestone walls. Lehner concluded this was likely an unfinished tomb or an abandoned excavation from the Old Kingdom. Nothing mysterious, nothing worth further investigation. But critics point out several problems with this conclusion. First, the shaft shows signs of having been cleared out. Debris patterns suggest someone removed whatever was originally inside. Second, the chamber's walls show tool marks inconsistent with Old Kingdom techniques. Third, the shaft is positioned directly above where ground-penetrating radar detected larger chambers deeper down. What if this wasn't the main chamber? What if this was just an access point to something deeper that Lehner wasn't allowed to investigate? Interestingly, Lehner's position on the Sphinx has evolved over the decades. While he maintains the orthodox dating, he's acknowledged in recent interviews that there are unanswered questions about the underground features. Unanswered questions indeed. because every investigation, every survey, every scan, they all point to the same conclusion. There's something down there, something big, something hidden, something that authorities seem determined to keep buried. Let's examine the physical evidence that's visible to anyone who visits Giza, because there are clues hiding in plain sight. Along the Sphinx's back, there are several rectangular holes cut into the limestone. These aren't natural erosion. They're precisely carved openings. The official explanation is that these are holes from modern restoration work. Scaffolding supports, measurement markers, nothing ancient. But here's the problem. Photographs from the 1800s, long before modern restoration began, show these same holes already present. So what are they? Some researchers believe they're ventilation shafts, air holes leading to chambers below. Others think they're access points, deliberately sealed in antiquity. The spacing and dimensions of these holes are too regular to be random. They follow a pattern, a design, as if they served a specific architectural purpose. If chambers exist below, they would need air circulation. These holes might be exactly that, ancient ventilation for underground spaces. On the top of the Sphinx's head, there's a rectangular feature that looks suspiciously like a sealed entrance. It's perfectly geometric, too precise to be natural erosion. The edges are defined. The dimensions are regular. Its proportions match those of ancient Egyptian doorways found in tombs and temples throughout Egypt. Modern photographs clearly show this feature, but officials have never allowed investigation. Tourists walk by every day without realizing they're looking at what might be a sealed entrance. An entrance leading where? Down through the head? Into the body? Connecting to chambers below? We can only speculate, because no one has been allowed to investigate. Directly in front of the Sphinx sit two massive temples, the Sphinx Temple and the Valley Temple. Both are constructed from enormous limestone blocks, some weighing over 200 tons. The architectural style of these temples is radically different from typical Egyptian construction. No hieroglyphics, no decorations, just massive, precisely fitted blocks reminiscent of other megalithic sites around the world. More importantly, these temples are aligned perfectly with the Sphinx and positioned in a way that suggests they're marking something. Some researchers believe the temples are positioned over underground structures, that they're literally built on top of something, marking its location for those who know what to look for. Ground-penetrating radar conducted around these temples has detected anomalies beneath their floors, voids that shouldn't exist under solid temple construction. It's possible the temples are more than temples. They might be entrances, gateways, guards standing watch over what lies beneath. Between the paws of the Sphinx sits the dream stele of Thutmose IV, placed there around 1400 BCE. The text describes how Thutmose, as a young prince, fell asleep near the Sphinx. In his dream, the Sphinx spoke to him, promising him the throne if he would clear away the sand that had buried it. Thutmose did as asked, became Pharaoh, and erected this stele to commemorate the event. But there's a curious line in the text. a line that's often overlooked. The inscription refers to the Sphinx as Hor-em-Akhet, meaning Horus of the horizon, and describes it as having been there since the time of the Masters of Kem. Masters of Kem, not pharaohs, not kings. Masters. And Kem was the ancient name for Egypt, used primarily in the very earliest periods. This suggests the Sphinx was already ancient when Thutmose found it, already a relic from a previous age, an age ruled by masters whose identity has been lost to history. There's more. A partially damaged section of the inscription appears to reference something beneath the Sphinx. The text is worn away, but fragments mention the beneath, sacred, hidden. What was hidden beneath? Why was it sacred? The answers literally eroded away. There's another stele found near the Giza Plateau in the 1800s that makes an even more startling claim. The inventory stele, dated to approximately 670 BCE, but claiming to be a copy of an older document, states that the Sphinx already existed when Khufu built the Great Pyramid. It explicitly says that Khufu found the Sphinx and built his pyramid next to it, not that he built the Sphinx itself. Mainstream Egyptologists dismiss this stele as a later fabrication created to give ancient prestige to restoration work. They point out linguistic anachronisms and stylistic elements from the 26th dynasty. But supporters argue that even if the stele itself is from the 26th dynasty, it could still be accurately copying information from much older records. The Egyptians frequently copied and preserved ancient texts, especially those concerning important monuments. If the inventory stele is accurate, it means the Sphinx predates the pyramids. It means the entire chronology of Giza needs revision. And it means there's been a monument on that spot far longer than anyone officially acknowledges. Let's return to the hard science. Because the seismic data is perhaps the most compelling evidence of all. Seismic surveying works by creating small vibrations and measuring how they travel through different materials. Rock transmits vibrations differently than air. Solid bedrock gives different readings than hollow spaces. Multiple independent teams using different equipment from different countries over different decades have all detected the same anomalies beneath the Sphinx. This isn't a case of one questionable reading. It's consistent, replicable data from multiple sources using peer-reviewed methodology. The seismic data suggests a primary chamber approximately 9 by 12 meters beneath the front paws, a secondary chamber beneath the body, connecting passages between chambers, possible extensions toward the nearby temples, a depth of 10 to 15 meters below current ground level. For context, King Tutankhamun's burial chamber measures about 6 by 4 meters. The chamber beneath the Sphinx, if the data is accurate, is nearly 4 times that size. That's roughly 1,000 cubic meters of hollow space. Not a small void, not a geological accident, a substantial constructed chamber. Beyond radar and seismic surveys, researchers have used something simpler: sound. By creating sounds at specific frequencies and listening to how they reflect, you can detect hollow spaces. It's the same principle as tapping on a wall to find studs, just far more sophisticated. Acoustic tests conducted around the Sphinx have revealed unusual echo patterns. Sounds that shouldn't echo the way they do if the structure were sitting on solid bedrock. Specifically, low-frequency sounds produced longer reverberations than expected, suggesting the sound waves were bouncing around in large spaces beneath the monument. When the same tests were conducted on nearby solid bedrock areas, the acoustic signature was completely different. The Sphinx area specifically shows signs of subsurface voids. The most prominent acoustic anomalies occur directly beneath the pores and beneath the body, exactly where seismic surveys detected chambers. In 2015, researchers used thermal imaging cameras to scan the Sphinx and surrounding structures at different times of day. Thermal imaging detects temperature differences. Solid rock heats and cools uniformly. Hollow spaces beneath the surface create different thermal patterns because air insulates differently than stone. The thermal scans showed distinct temperature anomalies in specific areas. The area beneath the pores stayed cooler during hot days. Certain sections of the body showed temperature variations inconsistent with solid limestone. The rump area showed a thermal signature suggesting hollow spaces below. These patterns are consistent with subsurface chambers affecting surface temperature through differential heating and cooling. When these results were presented to Egyptian authorities, the response was dismissive. The anomalies were attributed to differential weathering and moisture in the limestone. But thermal experts note that the patterns don't match natural geological variations. They match architectural voids. Let's summarize what we have. Ground-penetrating radar-detecting chambers. Seismic surveys confirming hollow spaces. Acoustic testing showing echo anomalies. Thermal imaging revealing temperature patterns. Historical accounts describing underground rooms. Physical features suggesting sealed entrances. Multiple independent investigations reaching the same conclusion. This isn't speculation. This isn't pseudoscience. This is multiple forms of evidence collected over decades by credentialed researchers using peer-reviewed methods, all pointing to the same reality. There are chambers beneath the Sphinx, so why can't anyone access them? To understand why these chambers remain closed, we need to understand the politics of Egyptian archaeology. Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities controls all archaeological work in the country. Nothing happens at Giza or anywhere else in Egypt without their explicit permission. Every excavation request goes through a rigorous approval process. The council evaluates the proposal, the researcher's credentials, the methodology, and the potential impact on the monuments. For routine archaeological work, permits are granted regularly. Standard excavations, restorations, documentation projects. These proceed without much controversy. But for the Sphinx chambers, every single excavation request has been denied. Japanese teams, American teams, European teams. It doesn't matter who asks. The answer is always no. The Egyptian government has provided various explanations for denying access. Reason number one, preservation concerns. Officials argue that excavation could damage the Sphinx. The monument is already fragile, suffering from erosion and structural stress. Digging beneath it might cause instability or collapse. This sounds reasonable. Except, modern archaeological techniques are non-invasive. Ground-penetrating radar doesn't damage anything. Even physical excavation, when done properly, poses minimal risk. Archaeologists routinely excavate beneath and around ancient monuments worldwide without causing damage. It's what they're trained to do. Moreover, excavations have already been conducted around and beneath parts of the Sphinx. The shaft at the rump was excavated in the 1980s. Trenches were dug around the base. The Sphinx survived just fine. So why would investigating the chambers be uniquely dangerous? The preservation argument doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Reason number 2, lack of evidence. Some Egyptian officials have claimed there's insufficient evidence that chambers even exist. The radar data is questionable, they say. The seismic surveys are inconclusive. But this contradicts the reality. Multiple independent teams using different technologies have all detected the same anomalies. This isn't ambiguous data. It's consistent, repeatable evidence. The findings have been published in peer-reviewed journals, presented at academic conferences, reviewed by experts in geophysics and archaeological surveying. To claim there's no evidence requires ignoring decades of scientific investigation. It's not a position based on data. It's a position despite the data. Reason number 3, no historical significance. Another argument is that even if chambers exist, they're probably empty or unimportant. Perhaps just natural voids in the limestone. Not worth the trouble of investigating. But seismic data suggests these are constructed chambers, not natural voids. The regularity, dimensions, and placement indicate human engineering, and historical sources specifically mention that important items were hidden beneath the Sphinx. Ancient texts describe these chambers as sacred, as containing knowledge from previous ages. Here's the logical problem. If the chambers are empty and unimportant, what's the harm in investigating? If there's nothing there, open them up, prove it, and end the speculation. The fact that they remain sealed suggests the opposite, that there is something there, something significant enough to keep hidden. The official explanations don't stand up to scrutiny. So what are the real reasons? Why does Egypt refuse to investigate these chambers? Theory number 1. Tourism revenue protection. The Giza Plateau generates enormous revenue for Egypt. Millions of tourists visit annually, spending money on tickets, guides, hotels, and souvenirs. This tourism depends on a stable, predictable narrative. The pyramids were built by Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaure. The Sphinx was carved by Khafra. Everything fits into a neat timeline. What if investigating the chambers reveals something that contradicts this narrative? What if the Sphinx is thousands of years older than claimed? What if it was built by a civilization we don't know about? Such discoveries would require rewriting history, admitting decades of incorrect information, creating uncertainty about Egypt's past. Tourism industries hate uncertainty. Visitors want clear answers, not "we don't know" or "we were wrong about the dates." Controversy and confusion could impact visitor numbers. So perhaps it's simpler to maintain the status quo. Keep the comfortable narrative. Leave the chambers unexplored. Protect the revenue stream. Theory number 2. Academic reputation. Egyptology as a field has invested over a century in establishing the current historical timeline. Textbooks, curricula, museum exhibits, academic careers, all built on this foundation. If the Sphinx significantly predates the pharaohs, it doesn't just change one monument's date. It calls into question the entire chronology of Egyptian civilization. Senior Egyptologists have built their careers on the current model. They've published papers, written books, trained students, all based on conventional dating. Admitting they were fundamentally wrong about something as prominent as the Sphinx would be professionally devastating. It would undermine their authority, their legacy, their life's work. This is a pattern throughout scientific history. Established experts resist paradigm shifts, not because the evidence doesn't support change, but because accepting change means acknowledging error. So senior figures in Egyptology who control permits and funding have a vested interest in preventing discoveries that would disrupt their established narratives. Theory number 3. National pride and identity. Egypt's national identity is deeply tied to its ancient past. The pyramids, the pharaohs, the hieroglyphs. These aren't just historical artifacts. They're symbols of Egyptian greatness. The narrative that ancient Egyptians built these wonders demonstrates indigenous genius. It's a source of tremendous national pride in a region with complex modern politics. What if the chambers reveal that the Sphinx was built by a pre-Egyptian civilization? That would mean Egypt's most iconic monument wasn't built by Egyptians at all. For a nation that derives significant pride from being the cradle of civilization, this would be psychologically difficult to accept. It would complicate the national narrative. Political leaders understand that controlling the past means controlling national identity. They're unlikely to authorize investigations that might undermine that identity. Theory number 4. The content of the chambers. Perhaps the most intriguing theory. Maybe Egyptian authorities know or suspect what's in the chambers, and they're not ready to reveal it. There are persistent rumors that private investigations, never made public, have already accessed the chambers. That government officials know exactly what's down there. If true, what could be so significant that it requires permanent secrecy? Some researchers speculate the chambers contain records from a pre-pharaonic civilization, texts, artifacts, or technology that would revolutionize our understanding of human history. Others suggest religious implications. Egypt is now a predominantly Muslim country. What if the chambers contain religious artifacts or texts that conflict with Islamic teachings? The political sensitivity would be immense. More controversial theories propose the chambers contain evidence of advanced ancient technology, astronomical knowledge, or even artifacts of non-terrestrial origin. While these more exotic theories lack evidence, they illustrate why secrecy might be preferred. If the contents are genuinely revolutionary, revealing them could have unpredictable consequences. Whatever the real reasons, the result is the same. The chambers remain closed, investigation remains forbidden, and questions remain unanswered. No discussion of Giza access politics is complete without mentioning Dr. Zahi Hawass, Egypt's most prominent archaeologist and former Minister of Antiquities. For decades, Hawass has been the face of Egyptian archaeology. Charismatic, media-savvy, and fiercely protective of conventional Egyptology, he's wielded enormous influence over what research gets approved at Giza. Hawass has consistently dismissed claims about hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx. In interviews, he's called such theories ridiculous, impossible, and pseudo-science. But here's where it gets interesting. In a 1997 documentary, Hawass himself stated, "Even Indiana Jones will never dream to be able to see what we will find inside this tunnel." What tunnel? If there's nothing beneath the Sphinx, why reference tunnels at all? When pressed about this statement in later years, Hawass walked it back, claiming he was referring to the shaft excavated in the 1980s, which contained nothing. But his original statement clearly implied something yet to be discovered. Something that would exceed even fictional archaeological fantasies. Throughout his tenure, Hawass denied permit requests to investigate beneath the Sphinx. His stated reason: there's nothing there, so why look? This creates an impossible situation. Researchers need permits to investigate. But permits are denied because there's supposedly nothing to investigate. Yet without investigation, there's no way to definitively prove what's there, or not there. It's circular reasoning designed to prevent investigation indefinitely. Hawass has done important work preserving Egyptian heritage. But his dogmatic resistance to investigating the Sphinx chambers has made him a controversial figure in this specific debate. What happens when researchers push too hard for access to the chambers? The answer is sobering. John Anthony West, an independent Egyptologist who championed the water erosion theory, had his filming permits revoked after producing documentaries questioning orthodox chronology. Robert Bauval, the engineer who proposed the Orion correlation theory connecting the pyramids to the constellation Orion, was banned from Egypt after his research suggested the Giza complex was designed as an integrated astronomical monument predating conventional dates. Graham Hancock, journalist and author who wrote extensively about lost civilizations and the possibility of pre-pharaonic cultures, was publicly attacked by Egyptian officials and denied access to conduct research. The pattern is clear. Researchers who challenge conventional narratives, who push for investigating the chambers, who suggest the Sphinx might be older than officially acknowledged, these people find themselves marginalized, discredited, and denied access. Even credentialed academics face pressure. Geologist Robert Schoch, who holds a PhD from Yale, faced intense criticism from the Egyptology establishment after publishing his water erosion findings. Young archaeologists are warned that pursuing controversial research about Giza can be career suicide. Funding dries up. Publications reject papers. Job opportunities vanish. This creates a chilling effect. Most researchers, even those privately curious about the chambers, won't risk their careers by pushing the issue publicly. Only independently funded researchers, those with nothing to lose, continue investigating. And they're systematically denied access. Egypt's antiquities laws give the government absolute control over archaeological sites. This isn't unique. Most countries protect their cultural heritage this way. But Egyptian law is particularly restrictive. Foreign researchers must partner with Egyptian institutions. All findings belong to Egypt. Publishing results requires government approval. Excavation permits require sponsorship by an Egyptian university or institution, approval from the Supreme Council of Antiquities, endorsement from multiple committees, government observers present at all times, sharing all data with Egyptian authorities. Here's the problem. To get approval, you must convince Egyptian institutions that your research won't contradict established narratives. But investigating the Sphinx chambers almost certainly would contradict those narratives. So permit applications are rejected at the institutional level before they even reach government review. There's no appeal process, no international body that can override Egypt's decision. If Egypt says no, that's final. This raises a philosophical question. Do individual nations have the right to block investigation of sites that belong to all human heritage? The Giza Plateau is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, supposedly protected for all humanity. Yet access is controlled by a single government with political motivations. The international archaeological community can protest, but ultimately, Egypt's sovereignty prevails. Will these chambers ever be investigated? There are a few scenarios. Scenario number 1. Political change. A new Egyptian government, less concerned with maintaining traditional narratives, could authorize investigation. This would require significant political shift. Scenario number 2. Generational academic shift. As older Egyptologists retire, younger scholars less invested in orthodox positions might push for investigation. This is already slowly happening. Scenario number 3. Technology makes excavation unnecessary. Advanced scanning technology might eventually allow complete mapping of the chambers without physical excavation. If authorities can't claim preservation concerns, they lose their primary justification for denial. Scenario number 4. Public pressure. If enough global attention focuses on the issue, international pressure might force Egypt to authorize investigation or at least provide transparent explanation for refusal. Scenario number 5. Accidental exposure. Earthquakes, erosion, or other natural events could accidentally breach the chambers, forcing acknowledgement of their existence. But realistically, the chambers will likely remain closed for the foreseeable future. The political, academic, and economic incentives all favor maintaining the status quo. The secrets beneath the Sphinx will keep their secrets, at least for now. Let's indulge in informed speculation. Based on historical accounts, architectural context, and comparative archaeology, what might actually be in these chambers? The most famous theory is the Hall of Records, a legendary library containing the accumulated knowledge of an advanced ancient civilization. This theory was popularized by psychic Edgar Cayce in the 1930s and 1940s. Cayce claimed, while in trance states, that records from the lost civilization of Atlantis were stored beneath the Sphinx. Mainstream archaeology dismisses Cayce's claims as pseudoscience. And fair enough, psychic readings aren't evidence. But the concept of ancient record repositories has historical precedent. The Library of Alexandria, the House of Life temples where Egyptian priests stored sacred texts. The Dead Sea Scrolls, hidden in caves. Ancient Egyptians obsessively documented knowledge. Mathematics, astronomy, medicine, engineering, religious texts. They wrote it all down on papyrus, stone, and pottery. Most of this knowledge is lost. We have fragments, but entire libraries worth of ancient Egyptian texts have disappeared. If you were an ancient civilization wanting to preserve important knowledge for future generations, where would you store it? Beneath your most prominent, most durable monument. The one that will last for millennia. The one that future civilizations will inevitably discover and investigate. A chamber beneath the Sphinx, carved into bedrock, sealed from the elements, would be an ideal archive. Papyrus wouldn't survive, but stone tablets, metal inscriptions, or ceramic documents could last indefinitely. What kind of knowledge might be stored? Advanced mathematical and astronomical calculations, engineering techniques used in pyramid construction, medical knowledge that's been lost, historical records from Egypt's earliest periods, religious texts predating known Egyptian religion, maps of ancient trade routes or lost cities. If such records exist, they would revolutionize our understanding of ancient Egypt and human history. Perhaps the chambers are tombs. This would be conventional, expected, and still potentially significant. The shaft excavated in the 1980s had tomb-like characteristics, though it was found empty. But what if there are other, undiscovered burial chambers deeper down? Some researchers propose these might be tombs of pre-dynastic Egyptian rulers, kings from Egypt's mysterious proto-civilization period before the Pharaohs. We know very little about Egypt's pre-dynastic period. Archaeological evidence is sparse. Few tombs have been discovered. The names of rulers are largely unknown. Discovering intact pre-dynastic royal tombs would be archaeologically monumental. It would fill a huge gap in our understanding of early Egyptian civilization. Remember, Tutankhamun's tomb, a relatively minor pharaoh's burial, was the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century. Imagine finding the tomb of Egypt's first kings, buried beneath the Sphinx. Such tombs might contain early examples of hieroglyphic writing, primitive Egyptian art styles, tools and weapons from the earliest periods, religious artifacts from pre-dynastic beliefs, bodies that could provide DNA evidence. That last point is crucial. DNA analysis of pre-dynastic Egyptian remains could definitively answer questions about ancient Egyptian ethnicity, migrations, and connections to other ancient peoples. The chambers might be religious in nature, an underground temple or sanctuary dedicated to ancient Egyptian gods. Ancient Egypt had mystery cults, secret religious societies that performed rituals in hidden locations. Only initiated priests could access these sacred spaces. Greek historians wrote about Egyptian initiation ceremonies conducted in underground chambers. Initiates would descend into darkness, undergo symbolic death and rebirth, and emerge spiritually transformed. The Sphinx itself has religious significance. Its lion body represented the sun god. Its human head represented the pharaoh as divine intermediary. The monument embodied the connection between earthly and divine power. An underground sanctuary beneath the Sphinx would be symbolically powerful, descending beneath the guardian into the underworld, conducting rituals in the realm of Osiris, god of death and resurrection. Such a sanctuary might contain ritual objects and ceremonial tools, religious texts and prayers, altars or offering tables, astronomical alignment markers, initiation chamber decorations. For ancient Egyptians, this would have been among the most sacred spaces in all of Egypt, a place where heaven, earth, and underworld converged. Here's a less discussed but fascinating possibility. The chambers are an astronomical observatory or calculation center. Ancient Egyptians were sophisticated astronomers. They tracked planetary movements, predicted eclipses, and aligned monuments with incredible precision. The pyramids align with cardinal directions to within fractions of a degree. They correspond to stellar constellations. This required extensive astronomical observation and calculation. Underground chambers offer unique advantages for astronomical observation. Complete darkness eliminates light pollution. Stable temperature prevents atmospheric distortion. Vertical shafts can create natural telescopes. Alignment markers are protected from weathering. Imagine vertical shafts allowing observation of specific stars or the sun at specific times. Stone markers for calculating seasons, solstices, and precession. Calculation tables carved into chamber walls. Some researchers believe ancient Egyptians understood the precession of the equinoxes, a 26,000-year astronomical cycle. This advanced knowledge would require centuries of observation and calculation. An underground chamber beneath the Sphinx would be an ideal location to store astronomical data, protect calculation tools, and conduct observations through precisely oriented shafts. If such an observatory exists, it might contain astronomical calculations that would astound modern astronomers. Ancient knowledge of celestial mechanics we're only recently rediscovering. Let's not ignore the obvious possibility: treasure. Ancient Egypt was wealthy beyond imagination. Gold from Nubia, precious stones from distant lands, artifacts of incredible craftsmanship. But most Egyptian tombs and temples were looted throughout history. Very few treasures survived to modern times. The Tutankhamun discovery was exceptional precisely because it was intact. If ancient Egyptians wanted to protect valuable items from looters, where better than beneath the Sphinx? Tombs in the Valley of the Kings? Obvious targets. Temple treasuries? Easy marks. But a sealed chamber beneath a massive monument that shows no obvious entrance. Thieves would never find it. Potential treasures, royal regalia from earliest dynasties, sacred cult objects, gold statues of gods, ceremonial weapons, crown jewels of pre-dynastic kings, offerings to the gods hidden for safekeeping. When the Tutankhamun tomb was discovered, it contained over 5,000 objects, many made of gold. And that was a hastily assembled burial for a minor pharaoh. A chamber beneath the Sphinx, if deliberately constructed as a treasure vault, could contain far more. The archaeological value would be incalculable. Here's a practical theory that doesn't get enough attention. The chambers might be part of an ancient water management system. Ancient Egypt depended on the Nile's annual floods. Managing water was crucial for survival. Egyptian engineers were masters of hydraulics. Archaeological sites throughout Egypt have revealed sophisticated underground water channels, cisterns, and distribution systems. The Giza Plateau has a high water table. In ancient times, water would have been even more accessible. Underground chambers could serve as cisterns, collecting and storing water. Such chambers might store water for construction workers, provide drinking water for priests, create ritual purification pools, support hydraulic lifting systems used in construction. Some engineers have proposed that water pressure and hydraulic systems helped lift the massive stones used in pyramid construction. Underground chambers could be part of this system. This theory isn't as exciting as treasure or libraries, but it would still be archaeologically significant. It would demonstrate advanced engineering that predates similar systems elsewhere by centuries or millennia. We need to consider the least exciting possibility. Maybe there's nothing there. The detected chambers might be natural geological formations. Limestone naturally forms voids as it erodes underground. What looks like chambers on radar might just be empty pockets in the bedrock. Or they might be abandoned excavations from antiquity. Ancient workers started digging, then stopped for unknown reasons, leaving empty chambers that serve no purpose. Perhaps what we're interpreting as evidence of great secrets is really just nothing special. Empty rooms, natural voids, archaeological dead ends. However, this explanation struggles to account for the regularity and dimensions detected by surveys, historical accounts specifically mentioning hidden chambers, the architectural alignment with the Sphinx, the government's intense resistance to investigation. If the chambers are genuinely empty or insignificant, the simplest solution would be opening them and proving it definitively. The continued secrecy suggests there's more to the story. Realistically, the chambers probably contain a combination of elements from multiple theories. Ancient structures often served multiple purposes. The chambers might have been originally carved as tombs, later repurposed as storage, also used for religious ceremonies, connected to water management systems, all of the above at different periods. Egypt's monuments accumulated purposes over millennia. What started as one thing became another, then another, as civilization evolved. But based on the evidence, the size, construction, location, and intense secrecy, whatever's in those chambers is significant. You don't seal and protect nothing for thousands of years. The hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx aren't an isolated mystery. They're part of a much larger question about Giza, ancient Egypt, and human history itself. Look at the Giza Plateau from above. The three pyramids, the Sphinx, the temples, the causeways. It's not random placement. It's a carefully designed complex. The monuments align with each other. They correspond to astronomical patterns. They incorporate advanced mathematical relationships. Engineer Robert Bauval demonstrated that the three pyramids match the pattern of the three stars in Orion's belt. Not approximately, precisely. Moreover, the layout corresponds to how Orion appeared in the sky around 10,500 BCE, more than double the conventional dating of the pyramids. The Sphinx faces due east, watching the sunrise. At the spring equinox in 10,500 BCE, it would have gazed directly at the constellation Leo, the lion, rising on the horizon. A lion monument, facing the constellation of the lion, at a time when astronomical conditions match the monument layout. That's a staggering coincidence if you believe conventional dating. If the entire Giza complex was designed as an integrated astronomical monument, it suggests a master plan spanning perhaps thousands of years, sophisticated astronomical knowledge, possible pre-pharaonic origins, hidden features we haven't discovered yet. And if the complex is integrated above ground, logic suggests integration below ground. Chambers beneath the Sphinx likely connect to other underground features throughout the plateau. This brings us to the most controversial question. Did an advanced civilization exist before recorded history? According to conventional archaeology, human civilization began around 5,000 years ago with Mesopotamia and Egypt. Before that, we were hunter-gatherers with basic stone tools. But there are anomalies. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, sophisticated megalithic architecture from 11,000 years ago. Underwater structures off the coasts of India and Japan that appear artificial. Geological evidence suggesting the Sphinx is 7,000 plus years old. Advanced mathematical knowledge embedded in pyramid dimensions. Around 12,800 years ago, Earth experienced a catastrophic event called the Younger Dryas. Evidence suggests a comet impact or airburst that caused mass extinction, sea level rise, and climate upheaval. Some researchers propose that this event destroyed an advanced civilization. The survivors, scattered and reduced, slowly rebuilt society, eventually becoming the Egyptians, Sumerians, and others we know from history. Ancient Egyptians themselves claimed to be inheritors of knowledge from earlier times. They spoke of the first time, a golden age when gods walked among men and great works were accomplished. The god Thoth was said to have hidden sacred knowledge in secret locations before a great cataclysm, preserving it for future generations. What if the chambers beneath the Sphinx are exactly that? A time capsule from a pre-cataclysm civilization. Evidence of humanity's forgotten past. This would revolutionize history, archaeology, anthropology, and our understanding of human development. It would prove that civilization is older, more sophisticated, and more mysterious than we ever imagined. The Sphinx chambers aren't the only archaeological mystery facing inexplicable resistance. Around the world, there are sites that challenge conventional chronology, yet investigation is blocked, results are suppressed, or findings are dismissed without proper examination. The Bosnian pyramids, whether natural hills or ancient structures, remains hotly debated, but orthodox archaeology refuses serious investigation. The Yonaguni Monument off Japan, an underwater structure that appears artificial, dated to over 10,000 years old, yet dismissed as natural erosion. The Baltic Sea anomaly, a large, unusual object detected on the sea floor with geometric features suggesting artificial construction, yet no funded investigation. There's a pattern. Anomalous discoveries that could rewrite history face institutional resistance. Funding disappears. Access is denied. Results are dismissed. Why? Is it academic conservatism? Protection of established careers? Something more deliberate? Controlling humanity's past means controlling the narrative of who we are, where we came from, and what we're capable of. If humans were more advanced in the distant past than we currently believe, it challenges assumptions about progress, development, and the trajectory of civilization. It raises uncomfortable questions. If advanced civilizations can fall and be forgotten, could ours do the same? What knowledge have we lost? What could we relearn from the past? The chambers beneath the Sphinx represent something larger than archaeology. They represent a fundamental question about human knowledge and truth. When we ask, what's beneath the Sphinx? We're really asking, do we have the right to know our own history? Should governments control access to humanity's past? Is truth worth pursuing, even when it's inconvenient? What else don't we know about where we came from? Every sealed chamber is a question we're not allowed to ask. Every denied permit is knowledge we're not allowed to pursue. Every dismissed theory is a possibility we're not allowed to consider. Science advances by asking questions, testing hypotheses, and following evidence wherever it leads. When that process is blocked for political or ideological reasons, we all lose. The chambers have waited thousands of years. They'll wait longer still. But every generation that passes without investigation is a generation denied the truth about their heritage. In the absence of official investigation, independent researchers have become crucial. These individuals, geologists, engineers, journalists, authors, pursue the truth despite facing ridicule, professional ostracism, and denial of access. The orthodox establishment calls them pseudoscientists, alternative historians, or conspiracy theorists. But many of these researchers hold advanced degrees, use rigorous methodology, and simply ask questions that academia refuses to address. Independent researchers have provided geological evidence challenging conventional dating, conducted surveys that detected the chambers, published findings in peer-reviewed journals, raised public awareness of these mysteries, kept the questions alive despite official disinterest. Because of their work, millions of people now know about the hidden chambers. The issue can't be quietly buried. Public interest creates pressure for eventual investigation. The internet and social media have democratized access to information. Official narratives no longer have monopoly control. Alternative theories can reach audiences directly. As awareness grows, so does public demand for answers. Tourism at Giza is driven partly by these mysteries. People want to see the Sphinx precisely because of questions about its true age and hidden chambers. This creates economic incentive for Egypt to eventually investigate. A major discovery beneath the Sphinx would generate worldwide attention and tourism revenue beyond anything current. We may be approaching a tipping point where the benefits of investigation outweigh the risks of maintaining secrecy. So, here we are, standing before one of humanity's greatest monuments, knowing that beneath our feet lie chambers that have been sealed for millennia. We know they're there. Multiple technologies confirm it. Historical accounts describe them. The evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. Yet we cannot access them. Politics, academic protectionism, national pride, and perhaps the nature of what's hidden, all conspire to keep these chambers closed. The Sphinx keeps its secrets. Guardian of mysteries it may have watched over for 7,000 years, 10,000 years, or even longer. Every day these chambers remain unexplored is a day we remain ignorant of potentially revolutionary knowledge. Records that could rewrite history, artifacts that could prove lost civilizations, technology that could advance our understanding of ancient capabilities. Or perhaps nothing. Perhaps empty rooms that will disappoint everyone when finally opened. But we'll never know until we look. And that's the tragedy. Not that we don't know what's down there, but that we're not allowed to find out. Technology improves every year. Perhaps one day, scanning will become so sophisticated that we can map every chamber, every artifact, every inscription without moving a single stone. Perhaps political winds will shift. A new government will see the value in transparency. Access will be granted. The world will finally learn what the Sphinx has been hiding. Or perhaps nature will decide for us. An earthquake, erosion, climate change altering groundwater levels. The chambers might reveal themselves despite human obstruction. Until then, we wait. We question. We gather evidence. We keep the pressure on authorities to do what should have been done decades ago. Investigate. And you have a role to play. Public awareness matters. The more people know about these chambers, the harder they become to ignore. Share this information. Ask questions. Demand transparency. Support researchers pursuing the truth. Visit Giza if you can, and see the mystery for yourself. The chambers beneath the Sphinx have waited for thousands of years. They'll wait for us a little longer. But remember this, throughout history, truth eventually emerges. Secrets can't stay buried forever. Evidence accumulates. Technology advances. Political systems change. One day, perhaps in our lifetime, perhaps in our children's, those chambers will be opened. The world will learn what lies beneath the Guardian's paws. And when that day comes, when the seals are broken and the darkness illuminated, we may find that everything we thought we knew about ancient Egypt, about human history, about civilization itself, was just the beginning of the story. The Sphinx watches. The Sphinx waits. And beneath the Sphinx, history waits with it. The chambers remain hidden. The questions remain unanswered. But the truth is down there. Thank you for watching Pharaoh's Legacy. If this video opened your eyes to one of archaeology's greatest mysteries, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Next time, we're investigating why Cleopatra's tomb has never been found, despite decades of searching. Was she really buried with Mark Antony? Or is there something more to the story? What do you think is beneath the Sphinx? Share your theories in the comments below. The past is waiting to be uncovered. Join us on this journey through ancient Egypt's most fascinating secrets. Until next time, stay curious.